Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fam, Fantasy Endgame baseball players. We're back. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. It is time for two-start streamers. But first, Pierre, another week in the books. We're coming up on the All-Star break. I feel like we maybe are finally starting to see some bats heat up. How are we feeling right now? Basically midway point through the season.
Yeah, I think it seems pretty obvious now. The offense is kicking into full gear for most teams, most players. Even bad offenses are scoring some runs once in a while. What's interesting that now it's kind of come out lately that, oh yeah, the baseball is different a little bit, because why have the exact same thing every year? Why have a consistent product? So there's more drag on the ball. I don't know if anybody else heard about this. So it's not that there's less offense. In other words, there's more fly balls that are dying at the fence, so once they go a certain distance, they're not going to carry as much as they would have before. So not juiced, but not exactly a dead ball either, right? So off the bat and out of the pitcher's hand, the same, but in the air, then it's reducing. So if someone can think of a good explanation why they would want to try to make it so that there's fewer home runs when the ball's already hit hard, let me know. But yeah, baseball always unpredictable. But it's not a major change, but we are seeing more offense, and hopefully the warm air will help undrag some of those balls.
Every other sport trying to get more offense into the game, and then there's baseball saying, how do we get more warning track fly balls? That's what that's what the fans want to see. All right, but you're not here to hear us rail on the old heads who run baseball and keep it boring. You're here for some two-start streamers, and let's start with a guy that, sadly, I drafted this guy and gave up on him probably too soon because he's bounced back pretty well, and that is Grant Holmes. Gets two pretty good matchups this week, Angels at home and then the Orioles at home. Orioles, they are kind of coming alive. I mean, they scored, like 22 runs the other night, but they're much better at home than on the road, I feel like. Also, you look at Grant Holmes lately, his last 4 starts, he's gone at least 4 innings in all those starts, 3 or less earned runs in all of them, and at least 5 strikeouts in all of them. And oh, by the way, over a 2-game span, he had 24 strikeouts. Grant Holmes, 64% rostered in Yahoo. If he's out there, is he a must-add?
Borderline. I can't never go full-fledged 100% Grant Holmes. He's one of those pitchers who I feel really has mostly belonged in the streamer category because you never exactly know what you're going to get from him. Because remember, he had some bad starts earlier in the season and even good matchups, which is why he's now, I think, low enough. It's right, 64% owned. You can say he's a streamer, right? About a third of all leagues he's available, and like in our league, I think he was available. Because also, if you are looking for quality starts, he doesn't always get you that because sometimes it doesn't go 6. But one thing I just discovered, so I was a few days ago on the Beat the Shift podcast with Ariel Cohen and Ruben Guy, and he's one of his ATC projections on Fangraphs. I know him from before, from Rotoballer, right when we were there. So anyways, very smart guy, and I always am on there at least once a year. And they have a little trivia at some point midway through the stream, and it's always fun. I was shocked actually by the question was who were the top 4 pitchers in strikeouts, just total strikeouts in the month of June. Grant Holmes is number 3 out of all the pitchers, more than Tariq Skubal, right? More than, Chris Sale is out now, more than anybody except for I think Garrett Crochet, and you actually might not find this surprising, your new boy, Yusei Kikuchi, he's up there. Like Kikuchi, I knew it had some really good outings. I knew he has been good, but Grant Holmes, I was like, what? Now I will say this: he got a bunch of them against the Rockies, right? He had like 15 in one start. Okay, and then he also faced the Marlins, and he had a bunch of them against the Marlins too. So part of it is that, but still, you can't just say, well, whatever. He had weak competition. You don't get that many strikeouts, by accident. So he's been great in June. The schedule is good. I mean, I don't think I can put anybody else here above him this week.
All right. Speaking of a guy who's been great, what about Jacob Lopez for the team with no city, the Athletics? Last 3 starts, he's gone 6 or more innings in all 3 of those. 3 straight quality starts. He's given up one earned run. over those 3 starts, and he's got 9, 9, and 6 strikeouts in those games. He gets a great schedule this week. Now, he does have to play Tampa Bay in Tampa. I wish that was on the road because, that is a Little League field. But then he gets the Giants, which is always nice. Even with Devers, the Giants don't scare me at all. Jacob Lopez, honestly, is feeling like a guy you have to add if he's out there.
Yeah, I probably don't need to go too deep into this because anybody watching here has probably already seen the waiver wire video. I finally said, okay, you just need to add Jacob Lopez. The history here, he had 1 start. I happened to watch him, and I liked what I saw. He had a really good turn, I think, against the Phillies. It's hard offense to face. And then, so I was like, okay, let me add this guy, see what happens. Well, guess what happened? Guess what happened? He stabbed me in the back. He gave up like 7 earned runs in a 2/3 innings. So I was like, okay, lesson learned. So I dropped him, and then sure enough, ever since then, he has been absolutely rolling. So look, the thing is, this is a very risky profile. As I mentioned, a very, very high fly ball rate. So when he's in a place like Tampa, like you said, yeah, there's some risk there. But he is getting so many strikeouts, and he's been really good almost every start now since that blow up. He did have one other bad start, but yeah, I think you're going to have to take a chance here, right? Obviously, none of these guys are sure things. And like I always say, even with those guys who are just considered aces, and they're not that many of them. Same thing. There's no pitcher out there who's guaranteed to have absolutely amazing starts every time out. So, yeah, I think you just need to buy into Jacob Lopez now.
All right, are we buying into Chase Burns, who made his major league debut this week, and the Reds did him no favors by saying, "Go ahead, face the Yankees." But look, he wasn't bad in this game, right? He gave up 3 runs, 6 hits without walking any batters. No shame in that against the Yankees. He also struck out 8, which is fantastic. He's got that strikeout upside, of course. Now, the schedule this week is kind of a tale of 2 teams. First, he gets Boston, which not quite the same without Devers. But then he does get the Phillies, who are kind of rolling right now. But, if you got Chase Burns, do you even care? Are you just starting this guy no matter what, pretty much?
No, actually, I'm not just starting him no matter what. Now, this one's tricky because I also had him on the waiver wire pickup. I think it's pretty obvious most competitive leagues. We know about Chase Burns, right? He's one of the top pitching prospects in the game. We saw his debut, 8 strikeouts, all that. He wasn't picked up everywhere. He's just like Grant Holmes, just over 60%. I know some more shallow leagues, right? There's no need necessarily to pick up a pitcher who isn't a sure thing. I looked at the schedule. I was like, I'll just wait, right? I'll just wait on the road both times, which actually for him is good, but still at Red Sox, at Phillies. But then I was like, wait a minute. This Red Sox team, that's a good matchup, right? At first, early in the season, you're like, but without Devers, we've seen what this team is. So I would like to start him just once this week. I still don't want to start him at the Phillies because they have a lot of guys who hit the ball really hard, and that's what he's going to do. He might allow a lot of loud contact in between the strikeouts. But this is where it really comes down to your league as far as your 2-start streaming options. He's not going to be my favorite, but I think he's definitely worth adding if he's out there in most 12-team leagues.
Yes. And then a guy I know you like this guy. Yes, Ryan Nelson. I was very pleasantly surprised that he was still available in our league, and I was able to stream him against the White Sox, and he had a nice outing. Only gave up 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. Now it is only 1 hit in that game. Now, of course, it is the White Sox, and he did only go 5 innings, which is a little disappointing. You'd like to see that more, and that might be the one thing that's kind of holding him back here. He's only gone 6 innings once all year, but his ratios aren't bad. He's kind of around a strikeout per inning, and he gets 2 very good matchups here. He gets the Giants and the Royals. So, Ryan Nelson, 26% rostered in Yahoo, out there in a lot of leagues. If he was still out there in your league, would you be adding him?
Yeah, I still like him a lot, and he's been a 2-start streamer a couple of times over the past month, and I recommended him. And, every start hasn't gone great, but guess what? He's a pitcher. He's still relatively young. That's how it is, right? He's not going to be great every single time, but look, the last 3 starts, he's only allowed 2 earned runs total. Got a 1.15 ERA over that span. So he's been really good lately. I still like him. Still like him rest of season. I think he'll stick in the rotation. Obviously, Corbin Burns is done. So, yeah, I still like Nelson. The only limitation here is you mentioned he doesn't go deep into games. Barely does he go 6 innings or more. So quality starts are almost a non-factor, and then wins. Well, the way the Diamondbacks look these days, all their injuries on offense, that's a little sketchier too. So that's what you're gonna probably miss with Nelson, but I think it's worth it when those ratios are nice and low.
Yeah, did the Diamondbacks just get swept by your Marlins? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah, they're in denial. I think it was the owner who they were like, "Are you going to be a seller now?" Everybody's hurt, right? Everybody, like almost everybody in their lineup is hurt, especially Corbin Carroll. And he's, I think, a little denial. It's no, we're gonna keep competing, and I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to just wave the white flag, right? In a month before the deadline, but I think the signs are there.
Yeah, signs are there. Now, what are the signs for a guy that really we don't need to give any introduction for here? We all know who he is, Max Scherzer, who, if you remember, made his first start this year and went 3 innings before getting hurt. Made his return this week against the Guardians. He looked all right. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, gave up 6 hits, only struck out 4. Obviously, we're not getting vintage Max Scherzer. And the schedule, another one, a tale of 2 schedules here. The Yankees, although the Yankees, they've been struggling a little bit, although Judge finally hit another homer today. And then the Angels. So Scherzer, how you feeling here about Scherzer this week as a 2-starter?
Well, what I've been saying with Scherzer is let's see it. Right, let's see. Number one, make it through a start without having an injury, right? The thumb or anything else pop up. And number 2, look like he still at least has some semblance of Max Scherzer in there. I don't expect him to be close to an ace, but at least, I don't want him to look like he's dropped 5 ticks in velocity or he just can't strike out batters anymore. And I think I saw enough in his first start back, both. Number 1, didn't get injured, so there's that. And then he said, in fact, the thumb it feels better now after that last start. Okay, so fine. Give him the benefit of the doubt, and he made it through 5 innings. That was his first start. I know that he can still eat some innings, at least 5. I think they can have him go 6 or 7 because what are they worried about, right? Worried about this protecting his arm for the future? No, like squeeze as much out of it as you can for this 1 year. See what you can get out of him. So he'll get you some innings. He can still get some strikeouts. He can do, to some extent, maybe 2/3 what he used to do. So I'm going to say I think I can trust him enough this week.
All right. And do you trust a guy like Michael Wacha, who's been pitching very well lately? You look at 4 of his last 5 starts, at least 6 innings. He's given up 3 or fewer earned runs in 4 of those 5 starts. Did have that one rough outing against the Athletics where he gave up 5 earned runs. Kind of shocking against a team like that. But, I mean, he's been good. Even against the Tigers, he shut out the Tigers just, about a month ago or so. This week he gets the Mariners and the Diamondbacks, who, like you said, you see Diamondbacks, you think, ooh, scary offense, but they're very banged up right now. Michael Wacha feels pretty safe here. What do you think?
He's exactly that. He is safe. Now, if he was a little more than just safe, I might have him higher in the list. But if safe is your thing, go for it. The only thing is, you're not getting strikeouts because that has not been his thing. 19% strikeout rate. All right, so you're just not getting a whole lot of Ks. But yeah, love the matchups, Mariners and Diamondbacks. It's pretty good. Didn't sound like that would be a great schedule, earlier this season, but now it's sounding pretty nice. This guy, I don't really know what else to say. If you know who Michael Wacha is, you know exactly where you're getting. It's funny. I was looking at his numbers, his ratios, his ERA, especially, and his WHIP. They're like identical, almost identical for 4 years in a row. Like it's exactly the same, kind of like 3.3-ish, 3.2, 1 point teens, WHIP and the strike. It's the same exact guy. You know what you're getting. It's not exciting, but sometimes exciting isn't what you need to get the job done.
Right. Sometimes it's nice to have that guy you just know is going to deliver. Now, but if exciting is your cup of tea, maybe I can sell you on Edward Cabrera. Now, we know this guy has arm talent. We know the talent is there. And look, the last 2 starts, 6 1/3, 1 earned run, 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, 11 total strikeouts. We've fallen for this trap before. I've fallen for this trap before. Maybe he's putting it together. Maybe he's figuring it out. He does get the Twins. He does get the Brewers. Again, I feel like these are both lineups that, like, on any given day, they can no-show. But on any given day, they can explode and, like, wreck your ratios. So, Edward Cabrera, again, we know the talent is there. Are you putting him in your lineup and risking it for 2 starts this week?
If those first 6 or 7 options are gone, then yes, I will. And look, Cabrera, very talented pitcher, like you said. The 2 issues are, number one, hadn't been going deep into games. He's had so many injuries, and so hadn't gone plus even over 5 innings until now. This last start went 6 1/3, so over 5 for 2 straight starts. But the other issue is the walks. Those have not disappeared. I don't know if they ever will completely go away, but if you look at his last 4 starts, 3 walks, 3 walks. Again, this is 5 1/3, 6 1/3. And then the last 2 before that, 2 walks, but that was in 4 innings and 3 innings. All right. So that's not like a great low number. So the whip is not going to be the selling point here, but he's managed to avoid damage for the most part. He can get you some strikeouts, and the schedule is kind of middle of the road. Now, Twins, of course, have been horrific lately, but they're like not a complete no-show on offense. And then the Brewers, it's like could go either way. So the second start could go either way. But again, if you're feeling adventurous and those first few options are gone, go for Cabrera.
Go for Cabrera. I like the upside here for sure. Maybe even the long-term upside, even if you're scared, like the long-term upside. True. Now, what about a guy I feel like is pretty much the epitome of a streamer? Like, oh, he's got a good matchup. Okay, I'll play him. Oh, he's facing a tough offense. Nah, I'll sit him. And that's Andrew Heaney. And we've kind of seen that the last couple of weeks, although it's kind of weird when you look at it. Early in June, he faced the Phillies and the Cubs. Pitched great. 6 innings in both, 3 fewer earned runs, 12 total strikeouts. And the last 2 games, Tigers, Brewers, hasn't been so good. 4 innings each, gave up a total of 14 earned runs, 7 earned runs in each, and only 5 total strikeouts. But the schedule's good this week. Cardinals and Mariners. So Andrew Heaney, is this your deep league special here?
Yes, because as solid as he's been all season long, the last 2 starts, just got completely lit up. That was just regression coming because he was outperforming his expected ERA by quite a bit. But at the same time, look, we can't just completely ignore what he did for the first 3 months of the season before last week. He had a 3.33 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP over 14 starts. That is solid and that is consistent. And we know Heaney, he's kind of like this despite being a veteran. He is somewhat all or nothing. He's a guy I think you can say right now he's going to be in a different uniform after the trade deadline. There's no reason for the Pirates to keep him, and there's probably some team that could add him to the back of their rotation. But, if you want to look at it that way, is he showcasing himself for a contender? Yeah, maybe he should be. But that said, again, the strikeout numbers are not great. Chances for a win are pretty low, so you can't put him higher.
Can't put him higher, and you definitely can't put this guy higher. Although, we like our Mariners pitchers, but do we like Emerson Hancock enough? Now, he gets, without a doubt, the best 2-start streaming schedule this week, the Royals and the Pirates. I mean, those are 2 offenses, despite what the Pirates did today to Frankie Montas, those are 2 offenses you should not be scared of at all. But you may be scared to start Emerson Hancock. Now look, he hasn't been terrible in June. I mean, he did have that terrible game against Cubs where he gave up 9 earned runs, but every other start in June, 2 or less earned runs. Strikeouts, you're probably not getting a lot of strikeouts. He's only gone over 5 strikeouts a few times all season long. But can he at least help your ratios based on the matchups here?
Maybe. This is your deep league special. I gotta tell you what, I've streamed on occasion. I've streamed Hancock a couple of times, and it paid off for me. He's one, honestly, his numbers are, I can't say they're skewed. I mean, he's earned what he's gotten. His expected ERA is actually really bad along with his actual ERA. It's 5.24. But the numbers have been inflated by 3 particularly horrible starts. But most of his other starts, he's been pretty effective, right? 11 of 14 starts, he's allowed 3 earned runs or less. So most of the time he is actually somewhat safe, I guess you can call it. The strikeouts aren't there, so that's why I got to put him a little bit below Haney, 17% strikeout rate. But against the Royals and the Pirates, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried.
All right, there you go. There's our top 2-star streamers, and I think Harry puts it really well here. Sometimes it's best just to not stream guys, right? So that's one thing I've definitely gotten better at this year is like, sometimes it's best just to not pick up that streamer and just,
It's true.
Not have to see that guy get rocked for 10 runs in 3 innings and strike out one batter in your lineup. So sometimes that's the best. But these are some guys who could and should come through this week. So if you're playing the streaming game, there you go. So let's get to your question.
For what it's worth, I don't think I've mentioned Eric Fetty once this year.
Yes.
Maybe once. Okay, but I
maybe. And I know you're not too high on Max Scherzer, although you did mention him this week, but not too high on him. I know that. All right, let's get to those questions. And as always, we will get through as many questions as we can. I may have to jump off here. You know what's going on, but I got word that they might be here early. I got some movers coming to move some big furniture. I may have to jump off in about 15 or 20 minutes, but Pierre will finish it off. Don't forget, if you want to jump to the front of the line, you don't want to wait for your question to be answered, you can drop that super chat and we will answer it right away. But let's jump into it. And if I'm reading this correctly, Jeff asked this question at 9 a.m. That would be 8 hours ago. 8 hours ago. He's got a ball game tonight. Not sure if he's going to the game or if he's playing or what. So he's going to have to watch it when he watches it later. But he wants to know: are you dropping Wyatt Langford for Roman Anthony in a 12-team keeper league? He's got no IL spots, so this is a bench stash.
Wow. Just comes swinging right out the gate, huh? It's like Rocky and Apollo Creed. There's no feeling each other out. Just come out full swinging.
Full swinging. This isn't a Jake Paul fight. This is full swinging here.
Oh man, was that yesterday?
I think so. Yeah.
I saw the notification. I quickly swiped away to make sure I do not watch that. But anyways, I can't drop Langford. Okay, so here's where I know it's a lazy answer, but there's got to be somebody else you could drop. I'm shocked. It's a 12-team keeper league. I'm shocked that Roman Anthony is available. I think you have to pick him up, but I don't think you can just drop Langford. So surely there's somebody else, right? If it's a keeper league, I don't know how many you keep and all the rules, but I think you've got to find a way to keep them both.
All right. He did add this. He traded Eovaldi, O'Neal Cruz, and Tyler Freeman for Bobby Witt, Cags, and Jesus Luzardo. Again, 12-team keeper. What are your thoughts? And this is why he was asking about Anthony, because he would be 3 of his 4 keepers.
Okay.
Or these would be, I guess, 3 of his 4 keepers next year.
I feel like I remember this question from last week, too. I remember this is like a mega deal. And I like that trade. So I think that was a good trade, especially in a keeper league. Well, now I guess and think about it, because then you got Anthony, you got Cags, and you got Langford. You're like, okay, you got great young keepers, but you got to keep Witt, of course. I don't know who else you might be keeping. But then you're like, okay, Caglione, you want to keep him, but are you really starting him? Probably not right now. Roman Anthony, yeah, you want to keep him. Are you really starting him? So unless you're punting, right, straight up punting for next year, he says for next year in one shot. And there's a lot to this, but I would still say I want to try to find a way to keep them both. Scott.
All right. Try to do it. Make it happen. All right, Benny, what's up? Head-to-head scoring. He's got Luis Garcia Jr. Would you drop him for any of Matt McClain, Otto Lopez, Christian Moore, Caleb Durbin, and he also said, or Tyler Freeman?
All right. Otto Lopez has been on fire, so I put him in the waiver wire video. In your format, I think it's fine. I don't feel like Luis Garcia is a must hold. And the actual advantage if Lopez gives you anything over Garcia is not that he's a better hitter per se, but right now he's got more favorable context. He's hitting 3rd in the lineup. Garcia doesn't. He's playing every day, almost for sure. Undoubtedly, he'll have the day off once in a while. Garcia sometimes sits with first lefties, so they can put Ahmed Rosario in. So McClain has been hot, but he's going to cool down at some point. So I think Lopez is probably the pick right now because, dare I say, the Marlins can't stop losing.
Winning. They can't stop winning, you mean?
Can't stop winning. Can't lose.
Can't lose. Can't stop winning. All right, Mr. Waking Up, what's up? Got to activate Bryce Harper. So are you dropping Colton Cowser, S.M. Barger, or Spencer Steer, who, funny, Ural, who I'm playing this week, picked him up to stream him, and the very next day he hit 3 home runs, which is funny because he's probably going to hit 10 home runs all season long. But are you picking up? Who are you dropping to activate Harper? It's a 10-teamer. Points league.
I can drop Steer. I could drop Steer in a points league, especially. I still like Cowser. I still like Barger.
All right, we dropping Steer. Is that the answer?
Yeah.
All right, dropping Steer. All right, Doyle wants to know. Jose Soriano, who looked promising at the start of the year. Did I pull up his question? All right, perfect. Looked promising at the start of the year. Not so much lately. Just got rocked the other day by the mighty Nationals to the tune of 8 earned runs in 4 innings. Are we getting worried? Or do you try and do you trust him this week against Atlanta?
I knew this would happen, right? I knew this would happen. As soon as I was back in on him. It's true. I was like, for a month, I just straight up ignored him. I was like, okay, I'm not buying back in. And then I was like, okay, fine. This is exactly it. No, you can't trust him. You can still start him, though. He's one of those pitchers. He's either on or he's off. So I would rather not trust him this week. Let's see after Atlanta. After that, you can pick your spots, but that's it. Soriano, he's got the stuff. He just doesn't always have it together at the right time.
My one thing that I kind of steer away from Soriano a lot, even in plus matchups, is he's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a ground ball pitcher, which is good because it means, he doesn't, it's not very often he gets rocked like we saw the other day.
Right.
But if he doesn't have a great outing, he's not making up for it with like 7 or 8 strikeouts. So
right, but that's why finally I was like, I have to buy him because he had been doing it for some reason. Like before this last time, 2 of his last 3 starts, double-digit strikeouts. You're like,
wow, really? What?
Yeah, like where did this come from though? He had never even done that. So it was like, oh, this is it. He's turning the corner, right? He's breaking out. No, he didn't.
All right. Josh wants to know, is Mookie Betts dust? Is he dust? He's batting a cool 249, 9 home runs on the season. Is it over? Is he hitting the wall? Is it over?
No, he'll be fine. Remember, he was dealing with some injuries early in the season. I think he's kind of been fighting through it. And look, let's be real. The Dodgers if Mookie Betts is hitting 249, is that hurting? Is that hurting their winning percentage? Like, no. He knows he can just show up every couple of days. No, I'm not saying he does that. He's a very competitive player. He'll be fine. I think second half, teams like the Dodgers, they're going to see, we're going to see those guys really turn it on. I think the injury might have contributed to part of it. So, yeah, I know you expected more. I get it. I know he's disappointing, but I think you just stay patient.
What's frustrating, because I don't have bets, but I have Freddie Freeman, who's been like on a massive, massive slump, just terrible. And then yesterday he goes 3 for 3 with a home run. And Dave Roberts is like, okay, why don't you sit today? What? He finally gets hot. Like, let this guy get on a run. Don't sit him back down. Like, what? Why did you sit this guy when he was slumping?
Well, he doesn't always make the best decisions, but that's for another time.
When you got that team, I guess it doesn't matter. You still win the World Series. All right, Keith wants to know, would it be crazy to start Alejandro Kirk over William Contreras rest of season?
It would be smart. I mean, rest of the season, things could change, but right now, Alejandro Kirk has been better. I said a long time ago, William Contreras seemed like a sell high based on his draft stock and his name value. Nothing has changed. I mean, he hasn't picked it up. He's not all of a sudden, contributing a lot for power. There's so many catchers that had more home runs than him, and he's not leading the way in batting average like you expected. So, yeah, I think you can start Kirk over Contreras right now. And if you can still get something from Contreras, if you can try to sell, I can't call it high, but sell, I'm fine with it. I would do it. But if not, well, just start Kirk and see if Contreras does better after the break.
All right, there you go. And then we got Doyle again wants to know, Shane Baz, is he a hold again? And do we like his 2 starts? I can't find anything about him making 2 starts this week. I don't know if he's going to. But his last start was great against the Royals. 8 innings pitched, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts. He's never going to complain about that. Is he back to being a hold?
I think he is. Now, there's one interesting thing. Glad you brought up Shane Baz. I don't see him having 2 starts this week, but of course things change. But anyways, and Chris Towers, CBS, pointed this out. So he's changed his pitch mix 2 starts ago. He ditched his slider and he's throwing a cutter instead. So he's changing up the way he's attacking hitters, and it seems to be working. So when you see a noticeable change, specific change like that midseason, and it's effective, that's worth noting. So I think we have to buy back into Baz. I mean, I always liked Baz, but he was a little uneven. You have to take into account all the time missed. But this is still a very young, relatively inexperienced pitcher. And now that he's kind of tinkering with things, figure it out. Now, if he's figured it out, look, I want to say, and I want to be in like a Jose Soriano situation where that's it. He's breaking out. But yeah, I'm definitely holding him.
All right. What about Nick Martinez? Van Rod wants to know, is this guy worth picking up? Like, this is a guy I streamed a couple times earlier in the year. And then did they move him to the bullpen for a little bit? Because I'm seeing only like 2 innings, 1 inning. He got rocked by the Twins. But look, just faced the Padres. 8 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. Is this it? Is this a Nick Martinez breakout?
This is not it. This was a good. Don't be fooled by this one good start. This is what we call recency bias. Look at his last start before then. It was not very good. Nick Martinez is not worth picking up here. Every once in a while, he'll have a start like this, and then he'll also have starts that are bad, and he'll also have starts that are in between. So, no, the strikeout numbers are low. He can hurt you just as much as he can help you. Nick Martinez, another guy, probably a month from now, he'll be in a different city playing first, and he probably won't even be in the rotation. He'll be one of those guys that's like a swing man, spot starter, backup type of thing. So, no, not worth picking up.
All right. Ty wants to know, I saw this question. I thought, oh, maybe he's heating up. Let me go check. No, he's not heating up. He has one home run since June 19th. I didn't even go back farther than that, but he does have a nice 9 strikeouts over the last 4 games, of which he also has 0 hit. Correction, he has 1 hit over the last 4 games with 9 strikeouts. But is he worth picking up?
Not really. He could probably do better. I mean, he's got some RBIs, right? His average over the past couple of weeks is not bad, but where are the home runs, right? Where's what you really want from Adolis Garcia? Right. They even now don't feel committed, and he's playing. He is pretty much still playing every day, but there's no guarantees now. The Rangers are like, look, you got to earn your spot, right? There's no guarantee just because you're a veteran, just because you're salary, just because of whatever. And they, to their credit, they're doing it, right? They're giving guys like Sam Haggerty a chance to play. And unless he starts actually going on a home run binge, you could probably find upside bet.
All right. And then our daily Luis Robert Jr. question. Are we ready to drop him? Or he's finally ready to drop him, but are you dropping him for Christian Walker?
I don't know. I felt ready to drop Luis Robert Jr. like 2 months ago. And it's funny because also on the Beat the Shift podcast, when I was on it, they asked about Zach Gallen. Like, dude, is it time to cut Zach Gallen? I said it was time to cut Zach Gallen in April. I was like, I've been saying this for months, not backing down now. I said this about Luis Robert Jr. when in May, maybe, or mid-May. Yeah, just drop him. I mean, what are you losing? Some stolen bases. Okay. Now, is he worth dropping for Christian Walker? No, I'd probably pick up somebody different.
All right. Drop Robert, but not for Christian Walker. RDW 2K, remember, shallow league here. He's got Kurtz, Kags, Vlad, Arias. He lost Ivan Herrera. Wants to know, would you drop Ben Rice for any of Gavin Sheets, Augustin Ramirez, Otto Lopez, Kyle Stowers, that Magnum guy whose name is actually Mangum, should be Magnum though, or Chandler Simpson in a head-to-head cat league?
You don't need Rice, no, because you don't. Probably out of those, Sheets or Stowers. Those are my two favorite options. Stowers is, I would probably go Stowers now, not just a homer pick, but he's actually got his power stroke back. Again, Marlins can't stop winning, and they're scoring runs. So let's go Stowers now.
All right. And speaking of Augustin Ramirez, Caesar wants to know, are you using a number 12 claim on him in a 12-team category league if you have Logan O'Hoppe?
No. I mean, if you have O'Hoppe, Ramirez isn't necessarily better than him for fantasy. And I don't know why you would need a number 2 claim on him. If you can pick him up and you prefer him to O'Hoppe, that's fine. But these guys are both, pretty much homer dependent catchers who will give you some good days. But I think you're fine rolling with O'Hoppe. Look, in our league where I lost Adley Rutschman, kind of mercifully, like I'm glad I just don't have to keep rolling him in my lineup anymore. I picked up Logan O'Hoppe, and I'm just starting him every day now.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go Giants. If you had to stash one of these IL players, who are you doing? Wyatt Langford, Luis Gil, Bryce Miller, or Spencer Arrighetti?
Not Luis Gil. This is tough. I mean, I think it to some extent comes down to your situation pitching. Do you need pitching? Bryce Miller is my favorite on there, but he's been going through it. I think we're going to just have to wait. This might be a longer absence than we want. Arrighetti's on the way back. I think I like Arrighetti the best here. Again, I don't want to give up on Wyatt Langford. I know it's been kind of frustrating. It's not like he's done nothing this year. I think if you need pitching, I would go Arrighetti. And if you don't need pitching, then go Langford.
All right, this is going to have to be the last one for me. I want to bring it back up again, back to Ty. So he's got to make this choice, apparently. Who do you like here? I don't know if you like either. Adolis Garcia or Giancarlo Stanton. Rest of the season in a head-to-head points league.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? You might as well take a chance on Stanton. Now, you say rest of the season. Of course, you can't just say, I'll start him the rest of the season, because there's a really good chance that Stanton is back in the IL for the rest of the season. How weird is it, though? He has not hit a home run yet. Now, he's not going to play every day either, but at least give me some hope.
Right.
Maybe
I picked him up, and like the first day, he had like 2 hits. Now, they weren't bombs, but he had a good exit velo. I was like, all right, the power's still there. At least I'll get some power numbers from him. You got to be able to hit the ball.
It's almost like, do I want the unknown potential? And not that he's unknown, like John Stanton's been around forever, but unknown for this year. What is he going to get me in 2025? I don't know. Let's see. It's going to be 28-year-old Giancarlo Stanton. No.
Don't think so.
I guess I would say Stanton. At least he's the Yankee.
All right. I'm going to have to get out of here, unfortunately, guys. Got something going on. But don't worry, I'll be back here on Wednesday. Pierre's going to take it from here. You got it, Pierre?
Got it. All right.
I'll see you later.
See you. All right, let's go back to Keith. All right. Who to drop when Alvarez comes back? Chandler Simpson, Sal Frelick, or Brooks Lee? Well, if you don't need... Well, actually, it doesn't matter. Look, I like Brooks Lee. He is kind of a young upcoming player. I like that he qualifies in multiple positions. He can help you out in a pinch when you need to start somebody, second, third, short, whatever. And he's been pretty solid. Like, as bad as the Twins have been, he's been good. Simpson and Frelick, why do you have them for stolen bases? Do you need them both? No. I'll go with the guy who's going to have more upside in that category. It's Simpson. Frelick is fine, but I think he's droppable. So who do I drop? It's Frelick, if you're asking me. All right, we already did that one. Okay. Robbie already answered this. Would I drop Luis Robert? Yes, a long time ago. Long time ago. All right, Yui. If I don't drop Rice, could drop one of Warren, Schmidt, and Detmers. Okay, well, if it's a save and hold league, I'll hold Detmers. I don't think Warren is an absolute must hold in a league like yours. He's going to be up and down, get your strikeouts, could hurt your ratios, could help your ratios. But I don't think you need Rice. Looking at your offense, I'm still dropping Rice. All right. F. Drop Wencel Perez for Colton Cowser. This is another one of those things. I did not, fully buy into Wencel Perez because I was like, he'll be good for a stretch, right? A week or two, and then he'll cool off and whatever. And so finally, he was doing well for, I guess, a long enough period. It wasn't that long. It was like 80 plate appearances, but he was looking good. The X stats were good. And so finally, I mentioned him on the waiver wire. And again, it doesn't mean these guys are rest of the season holds, but it's like, okay, you can pick him up and see what happens here. And so sure enough, he's not really done a whole lot lately. There's no power coming, lately last week or so. You don't need to hold him. So I still like Colton Cowser better between the two. Not that Cowser's been lighting it up, but between the two, I definitely prefer Cowser. Let's see. I'll go with you're always giving Chris props. He's down. All right. F also wants to know, drop Yuri for a player that can actually start. Yeah, I talked about Yuri Perez last week. Remember, I was when I was at the Marlins game, I actually got to saw Yuri Perez pitch in person, which was fun. Again, he looks the part. He has the arm talent. It just, we're not there yet. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Remember, this guy missed a whole lot of time because of injury, and then also this is a team that has no need. I don't care how many wins they have now with 7 in a row. Who cares? That means they're just 7 games further from the basement. They're still not making the playoffs. There's no reason for them, in other words, to push this guy for 6, 7 innings. It's not going to happen. His upside is limited still in terms of wins. Quality starts, almost no chance he's getting quality starts these days. The ratios aren't even that immaculate. He's not been dominant. He's good in spurts, but it's just not going to help you enough in fantasy. So I think at this point, all Yuri Perez is a stash in keeper dynasty leagues. I think that's what it is. Maybe the second half he gets better, but I wouldn't necessarily assume that it is. Jason, what's up, Jason? Worth keeping Kershaw, Verlander, Soroka, Priester. Verlander, no. Just no. I'm saving Kershaw for last. So Verlander, I'm going to say no. Soroka, I've never been a fan of Soroka for whatever reason. He's just, the command is not there. He'll pile up strikeouts once in a while. Like in the last couple of starts, he's gotten some high K numbers, but still allows a fair amount of hits. So I've never been a fan of Soroka. I don't feel like there's any reason to buy into him. So no. Priester has been rolling. Now, I will say this with Priester, because he just came off a really good start. He has also had a pretty favorable schedule. So I don't want to overreact, especially to his last start was against the Rockies. Okay, 11 strikeouts against the Rockies. Okay, I just mentioned Grant Holmes had like 15 strikeouts against the Rockies. So don't take that, too far. He's been pretty good, though, and I did like Quinn Priester early this season, and he had some uneven outings, and so I kind of forgot about him. I think I can buy back into him. So Kershaw is the one that I'll just go back and say, as long as your expectations are realistic, I would start him in soft matchups, but that's about it. So Verlander's no, Soroka's no, Priester's a yes, Kershaw is a if you want to. It depends. All right. Let's see who else we got. Want to make sure we get a variety of questions from a variety of users. I should say Tribal is back. All right. Looking to pick up another second baseman, Otto Lopez, Luis Garcia Jr. Well, Ken answered this earlier because somebody was asking to drop Garcia. Yeah, pick up Lopez. He's been hot lately. He can get you some steals. and modest power. He'll at least hit the occasional home run. He's not like Xavier Edwards where it's all speed, no power. He's a decent overall package. Now, don't be surprised if another week or 2 weeks, he struggles again and you drop him. But that's just how it is, right? None of these players are going to stay hot all season long. So right now, I would say I pick up Lopez. Doyle. What's up, Doyle? Michael Harris was just dropped. Wow. I'm not automatically jumping to add him if I don't need him. And that's how I feel about Michael Harris. And you might remember this. I know a lot of y'all have been watching all season. I called Michael Harris a drop back when I was calling Luis Robert Jr. a drop. Because altogether, you're not getting nearly what you expected when you drafted him. I feel like he was overdrafted. I feel like he's always overdrafted. He's not getting better year after year. He's actually going down. And the Braves, even if they don't wind up being sellers this year, like even if it's the same lineup, what has this lineup done? I just mentioned this on one of the videos last week. They're like 23rd in offense. And that's even with Ronald Acuna back over the past month. Since Acuna's been back in the lineup, they're like 22nd now. It hasn't changed anything. His batting average is hurting you. 6 home runs? Like, this is replacement level stuff. I mean, there's really no reason statistically that you should want to hold on to him. So what we're doing is buying into the name, buying into, what we saw a couple of years ago. I don't like to do that. So I'm not picking him up. What about Albies? No, I still like Albies better than Luis Garcia Jr. Like, I know Lopez has been better lately. For some reason, I'm a little bit more optimistic on Albies. He hasn't done nearly as bad as Harris, obviously. He does, at the very least, he drives in runs and he scores runs because he's kind of in the middle of that lineup, and he gets on base at least enough to do that. His average isn't any better. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being hypocritical here because it's kind of the same argument, right? Not just that they're on the same team, but really it's the name value here. I still feel like I've always liked Albie's upside much better than Harris, but yeah, I don't know what is going on with that offense. I mean, honestly, they just probably need to blow it up. But yeah, you know what, Jill, let's go ahead and do it. I can't tell you not to drop Ali, so I'm saying I'm not going to pick up Harris. Let's go ahead and do it for Otto Lopez. Is Andrea. What's up, Andrea? Who is dominating in our league, by the way. I don't know if she's still in first place, making us look bad. Is Goodman going on IL? I haven't heard. Let me see, though. He's day-to-day. The hamstring. I mean, usually if there was if the severity was enough that, you would need an IL stint, they like to do it sooner than later because that gets them another guy on the active roster. So I think the fact that with an injury like this, typically if there isn't IL yet, there probably won't be. So I can't assume he'll play tomorrow or maybe the next day. But it sounds like at this point, if it's been a couple of days, probably not. All right, and then Keith, would you drive Clayton Kershaw for Brandon Woodruff? Yeah, and I'm not a huge Brandon Woodruff guy, and I think he gets a little bit too much hype, but I would still take him over Clayton Kershaw just because I love Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, I think this is fine, but Woodruff also got to keep in mind probably going to be slow played back after missing so much time. And remember, he had a setback in rehab too. I mean, he was ready to come back earlier, and another setback, and then just so many things with this guy. So I think Woodruff eventually, maybe by August, can start getting you like 6 innings, and he'll be solid. But again, as long as your expectations are realistic, but I still prefer him over Kershaw. All right, Van Rod wants to know about Ober. Drop Ober for Lopez. Ober is super frustrating, as you know, and Ober has not. Usually he'll have like one or two like really bad starts, and then he corrects, and he's just having a really bad month. And I don't know exactly what it is. There's some rumors that there might be something going on. There's a little bit of velocity drop, and his velocity was never elite to begin with, but he just does not look like the same guy for a month straight. There comes to a point where, of course, at this point, you should not care whatsoever about preseason value, draft stock, whatever. Name value, it's not like he's ever been an ace, but he's usually been solid, dependable, a guy you just set and forget. We can't just ignore what he's been doing for this long. I think you can drop him if you want to stash him and just wait and see if something changes. But yeah, I'm beyond worried now. So I think you can drop him. Ooh, yeah, dropped over and Gallon, exactly. Bailey, actually, that's a pretty good one. Bailey over? I'm afraid so. All right, Slayer Live. Hold Sandy or Yuri? This is definitely Sandy. So I already talked about Yuri not too long ago, saying I just don't think it's happening for him this year. He's not going to help you in fantasy enough. Sandy has, of course, turned it around finally. And it's just a matter of weeks before he's either a Dodger or a Giant or something. And that's just going to help because then he can actually start to get more wins. And they're not going to do what the Marlins are doing to Yuri, right? Limiting his pitches. Whoever's paying up a premium prospect to get Sandy Alcantara, they're not going to limit him to 5 innings, right? They're going to get their money's worth. So, yeah, I'm definitely holding Sandy here. All right, got time for a couple more. We've been cruising through this, I feel like. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. So if there's a question that I did miss and you want to make sure it gets answered before we get out of here, then let me know. Yes, Uncle Ted, by the way. I'll appreciate Uncle Ted always been here. It is Jose Fernandez. I had that picture. I'm doing a little rearranging here. As you can tell, I always tweak my background, but it is Jose Fernandez. Could have been. He probably still technically counts as the greatest Marlins pitcher of all time. But yeah. All right. Last question here. Tribal opinion on Soderstrom. Well, I just talked about Soderstrom just a few days ago. In fact, the buy or sell, you may not have caught it. And I can't assume everybody watches every video. Put out like 5 a week. But on buy or sell, I went through 7 players that I tried to pick players that could go either way. Guys, you really aren't sure. Are they buys, like a buy low, or is this like a sell now? Wyatt Langford is one of them. Like, what do you do with Wyatt Langford? You can't just say, oh, forget it, I'm giving up on him, when he could be one of the best young hitters in baseball if he figures it out and stays healthy, which is now a very big if, but still, it's not like an obvious drop. Do you buy low on a guy like that? Marcell Ozuna was another example. And Soderstrom was one of the players I talked about toward the end there. Short version, my answer on Soderstrom was I think he's a buy because even though he has not been hitting home runs like he did early in April, he's still being pretty consistent with quality of contact. He's lowering his strikeout rate, which is very nice to see for a slugger. And I think he'll start to figure it out in terms of unlocking the power again because it's there. So I think he's a buy low, and if you can hold him, I mean, shallow, it depends how shallow, but I would definitely rather have him over Burleson. On Burleson, what's the upside, right? The guy hits 285, gets you a home run like once in a while. Just not enough there, right? Not enough meat on the bone. Josh Lau, and I'd rather hold Soderstrom. Christian Moore is one of my favorite guys. I hope breaks out because I love his skill set and his tools. And he's going to have a path to everyday playing time for second base as long as he doesn't struggle. And he's held his own enough. Power upside at second base. So, yeah, I've actually picked up Christian Moore in a couple of leagues. And not even keeper leagues, just redraft leagues. Deeper leagues. But, yeah, I love Christian Moore. I guess he's like my new Joe Adele. I'll be irrationally high on him regardless of how he performs. Van Rod wants to know Burleson, Edman, or Freeman. Yeah, I just railed against Burleson. He's fine, right? I don't want fine. I think right now I'll go Freeman because I think he could at least get me some steals, score some runs. He's got a little bit of pop. Edman, if he heats up, sure. I'll tell you what, though. So you're talking about all these guys, and I didn't mention I might go back to him this week. They're talking about with Edman maybe going back to the outfield, that Hyesung Kim might start to play second base more than just like once a week. And he has been so good. He just needs more at-bats. If he actually starts to get more at-bats, I think he becomes almost a must-add. So I might just pick Kim up now instead. Okay, here's a new one. Reese 79. Butler or Adele? So yeah, I just invoked the name of Joe Adele, and I love me some Joe Adele, but I can't put him over Butler because he doesn't steal bases and not as often as Butler. And look, I know Joe Adele is maybe having his best season. I can't put him over Butler right now. So Butler, it still is. Is Noelvi Martin a must add? No. He's a let's watch and see how long it takes before something happens with him, either slump or injury or suspension, whatever. Let's see. He keeps sucking us in, right? Marte looks like he's going to do it, and then he doesn't. Yui wants to know, should we be concerned about Bubic? Moderately. The thing with Bubic, he's been so good. I'm not concerned about a bad start or two when he's been dominant otherwise. What I'm concerned about is him pitching this many innings deep into the season when he hasn't done that for a long time. So it's not exactly a Garrett Crochet situation from last year. It's different, different situation. But I think he could start to wear down a little bit. We might see him less effective, which, frankly, I'm surprised it took this long. So, yeah, I'd be slightly concerned about Bubic. I'm not just straight up benching him right now, but you keep an eye on him. All right, Cesar, 12-team Cats. Don't pick up Luis Robert. Unless you are really hurting at stolen base, right, and that's your category deficit, okay, if you need steals and he's out there, pick him up just for that. Just know that he's going to offset it by hurting your batting average. Now, I know some people are like, well, he's probably going to get traded. Not necessarily. He didn't get traded last year, and they could have, and maybe they could have got more for him last year. There's no guarantee here with the White Sox. Remember how they didn't trade Garrett Crochet at the deadline last year, and they could have. And I don't want to count on that either. So, like, only if you're hurting at stolen base, like big time. That's the only way I would pick up Luis Robert. Oh, thank you. That's not the one I was going to put up. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, a couple more real quick. Do you think Basayo will be better stash over Painter? No. They had a chance to, I just talked about Basayo 6 days ago on Beat the Breakout. They had their chance to call him up with Adley injury, and even if Adley isn't back after the All-Star break, I don't think that means he gets called up. They're not – the Orioles are obviously not one of those franchises that is going to rush up their prospects, and I just don't see them doing it before August, and even so, I don't see him being an everyday player, so no. I think Painter's the ad here. Goldschmidt's a free agent? Yeah, I'm not sure why. I think you can pick him up for sure. Cag's a drop. Same thing I'll say with Roman Anthony and Cags and any of these big name prospects. Just know this could go either way. You run the risk that you drop him and then it clicks and he figures it out. But I can't tell you you've got to sit and wait however long because it may not happen. He may get sent down. You just don't know. So I think you can drop him if you don't want to wait or if you just can't afford to. And then Yui wants to know if Kim starts playing every day, would I drop Holiday for him? No, I don't want to drop Holiday. I know you're in a shallow league, but I wouldn't do that just yet. Holiday's been good. All right, we have Wavy Zadin is something. Should I trade for Isaac Paredes? Only if you're not giving up a whole lot, honestly. He's been fine. He's been He'll probably be on pace to do something kind of close to his projections, but unless Jordan Alvarez, comes back and then all of a sudden Jose Altuve gets rejuvenated and this offense really starts to click and Christian Walker and all, you know what? The Astros have just been very kind of lackluster this year in terms of offense. Like they're still winning games, of course, but yeah, I don't know if I see a huge second half for Paredes. So I'm not trading for him unless I feel like I'm kind of buying low. You know what I mean? Vanrod, this is a good question. I actually had Ha-Seong Kim, talking about the Rays one, the one who was with the Padres before. I had him on my list. I was going to talk about him on the waiver wire last week or a couple days ago, and I didn't. I said, no, let's wait. I don't think we need him just yet, because even if he comes back, when he comes back, or he should be really soon, is he really going to hit the ground running? Guys missed the entire season with injury. He wasn't good last year. Remember, he got dropped in a lot of leagues last year. He was kind of a bust. I think you can wait. So stashing him, I think, is a good idea. I do want to eventually recommend him, but I don't want to stash a guy and then he gets active, and then that means you can't stash him on IL, right? He's taking up a bench spot, and you really don't feel comfortable playing him for a week, 2 weeks. We know how the Rays are with playing time, right? They're not going to just run him out there every day necessarily. So I will probably wait until I feel comfortable saying, okay, stash him now. And if you miss out on him, it's okay. There's no guarantee he's better than last year. The batting average, we'll see. I mean, he'll help you in steals, but yeah, I think I can wait and potentially stash him in a week or two. All right, last couple, Doyle, Baz, or Williams. I got to go Baz now. I talked about those changes, the cutter now. I've always liked Baz and the talent. Gavin Williams is still a little bit frustrating. That's just going to be him, I guess. But I'm going to go Baz here. And then, okay, Osvaldo Gonzalez, thoughts on trading PCA. If you're going to sell high, this is it. This is your window. We haven't heard quite as much from him lately. He's still been really good, of course, but I'm okay. I'm always okay selling high as long as you get enough in return. You better get, if you're trading PCA, a stud player, either like an ace, legit ace pitcher, or, star hitter, which I would assume the only reason to do that is you're getting a different position, right? If you want to get, instead of an outfielder like Crow Armstrong, you want to get, let's say you're hurting at third base. You want to get Rafael Devers or something like that. All right. Or maybe you feel like you can buy low on Jose Ramirez somehow. I don't know. So the point is, you better get enough. I'm okay doing it, but try to get at least 2 players, maximize that sell high window. All right, guys, we're going to stop it there because we've been over an hour. Appreciate all of you. And I will be putting out more videos as always this week. So check out for tomorrow. Got the panic and everything that's usually on the schedule. And then we'll do a midweek check-in on Wednesday. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. See you next time.